guys, welcome back. We are going to start a new series. Every Sunday, I am going to take 5 games and talk about them, tell you where I got them, as long as I remember, and what I did to them, and what I paid for them. At least you guys will get a pretty good idea of what I've been doing over the years and how I've accommodated or found a bunch of this stuff. This is still freaking out a little bit. There's a chip on the board that needs taken out and cleaned. This is the only game, this is one of the first games I ever built, and I put a regular TV in it, not realizing that you have to use a remote to turn it on. But this is actually running my original Nintendo. But anyways, I'm just doing a quick walk around here. Space heater for the winter time down here. It gets cold until the games make it too hot down here then. And I'm having a little issue with Kangaroo, a little bit of an issue with Centipede. There's the Paperboy sitting down at the end of the Atari row over there. Here's the Jurassic Park I wanted to do 2 weeks ago, and it's still sitting here in the same spot as it was 2 weeks ago. Been a little busy. But yeah, I want to get this Paperboy done, but I want to get this Jurassic Park done first because I have all the parts sitting on the floor right here and the monitor sitting right over here. So I want to get that together and done. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop the camera for a minute. I want to count how many games are actually down here right now. Like I said, I just want to do like 5 a week. I don't want to make real long videos, but just kind of explain where they, what I did with them and stuff like that. You'll see randomly on some of the games there's parts sitting on them. For instance, there's a new chip sitting on here. Oops, accidentally started the game. But I have a new chip sitting on here. This is the, what chip is this? This is the interface adapter board. This is the main chip that goes on there, 6821. This hopefully is going to fix the Sinistar. When I push up all the way, it makes the ship fly downwards, okay? And then if I go down, it works perfect. But if I go up too high, it flies downwards. So hopefully, Arcade Jason told me to order that chip and replace that chip on the interface board, and hopefully that'll fix that problem. So let me turn the camera off for a minute. I'm gonna count how many games are down here. And we'll come back and we're gonna talk about the first 5, which are gonna be Wizard of War, Space Ace, Tapper, Mr. Do, and the Mega Touch, or the iTouch down there. And yes, we never took down the Christmas decorations down here. Been a little busy. At this point, I might as well just leave them up. Hey, less to decorate next Christmas. Okay, there are currently 58 games down here right now. And there's gonna be, I have to fit, I don't know, like another dozen down here. So there'll be about 70 games down here total. And I think I'm out of room at that point. I probably could stuff more in, but I might get killed if I do. Just because we like to have people over on a couple times a year and kind of need room for people to be here and stuff. Okay, first, let's talk about Mr. Do. This is an original Mr. Do cabinet. It is a universal cabinet. It has the 1-inch thick sides. When I got this cabinet, I think I paid $100 for it. It was in southern Ohio. It was about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive. It came with the coin door. There was a monitor in it, but the monitor was necked. So the only thing that was good on it was a chassis, and it was some strange chassis I'd never seen before. I ended up selling the chassis on eBay. Somebody bought it. I don't know what they did with it or not. But anyways, I had a Mr. Do board, and this is running a switcher power supply in this game. The artwork came from, I gotta think of where this artwork came from. Let me look it up real quick because I want to let you know where it came from and talk about that real quick. Okay, the artwork for Mr. Do came from Arcade Art Shop. Okay, it's from a different country. I forget where it's from. I didn't look that closely into it. But anyways, from him, I bought the control panel overlay, the screen bezel, the back bezel, and the marquee. Now these are all reverse printed onto the Lexan. These are Lexan pieces, and what it is it's a flatbed printer that physically prints on the back side of the Lexan. It's not a sticker that sticks to it. It's basically the closest thing to screen printing you can get without actually screen printing. And you're using a printer rather than a screen printer. And it was reasonably priced, and it only took a couple weeks to get here. As far as the front art and the side art, we printed that ourselves. I think we got the artwork file on VectorLib. And we printed it just in regular vinyl and put it on the cabinet. This is 1-inch T-molding from tmolding.com. It's white. The original molding might have been a little bit flatter, but this is the best I can come up with. This is I believe this is a 4600 monitor right in here. I don't want to move it and open it up and check, but this original coin door, this one 25-cent piece was a little screwed up. I just took some orange marker and tried to color it in the best I can. It doesn't look great, but it's done. It's in there at least. But it's running original board. It's running a JAMA harness. It's running a JAMA harness in there. It has a JAMA harness adapter to the board, and then it has a regular switching power supply in this cabinet because I didn't have the harness or the original power supply. Now these player 1 and player 2 buttons do light up. Let me turn the lights off in here and you'll see it a little bit better. They don't light up very brightly, but they do light up. See, just enough, a little bit of a glow to them. So I don't have a ton of money into that game. I would say I probably have $300 in artwork. I did replace the sides completely on this cabinet. This is before I was doing videos. This is probably 5-6 years ago. I did replace the complete sides on this cabinet. It was a mess. This thing had mold inside of it. It was falling apart. And the funny thing about these cabinets is it's 1-inch thick wood. And what they did was they used like 3/4 inch wood and like a 1/4 inch Luan type material, and they sandwiched them together and they glued them together and they made this wider board out of it. So what I had to do is take this cabinet, lay it on its side in the shop on the floor, carefully pop off one side. When I got that side off, I traced it onto a new board. What I did was I used 3/4 inch black melamine, and then I glued a 1/8 inch piece of Luan to the exterior of that board. And then I used a cabinet vertical grade laminate, white laminate on the outside of the cabinet. So that gave me 15/16 of an inch. So I was within a 1/16, and the T-molding feels perfect. But anyways, I got it just about to where it needed to be. But what was nice about it is everything in the center of this cabinet is original. Every piece, even this front piece, it was all fine. The sides were just completely rotted and it was moldy inside. All the side bracing and everything I was able to save. When I took off one side, I was able to pop it off and put it exactly where it needed to go onto the new side that I cut. As far as the mold in the cabinet, I took straight bleach in a spray bottle and I literally soaked this wood down and just let it sit in the shop for days and days. All the mold disappeared. It completely cleaned up. After that, I took some Simple Green and sprayed it down again, wiped it down thoroughly with a towel, and everything was gone. It had like that white mold, where it's like that fluffy white mold. That's kind of like what was in this cabinet. But that's pretty much the story on this. I probably have $700 into it, $800 maybe at the most. Now my tapper's giving me a monitor issue too. You see how the screen's jumping around? That is something to do, I don't know yet. I think it's a bad pot. I'm not sure. I've messed with it and I can get it to stop and then it does it again. It's got great picture. I just need to figure that out. But I honestly just haven't had the time to get into some of these games and fix them because I'm always working on more stuff. And I need to just do some videos down here of me fixing the problems that I have. Because I want everything working down here 100%, because it's nice when everything's working, you know? And I know I'm asking for a lot to get 100% of my games working, because there's always an issue. But anyways, as far as this game goes, I had built 2 tappers a long time ago, probably about 7-8 years ago. I made my own cup holders out of wood. Look the same as these. I stacked 3/4 inch layer pieces of MDF and then routed out the top and everything. Made my own. And then I made one for my buddy who owns Playport in Erie, and then I made one for me. And mine was running on a Game Elf, and I had everything turned off, and I just didn't really, and I was running a flat screen monitor and stuff like that. So I ended up selling it. I didn't like it. I wanted an original one. So the reason why I ended up selling it was I found an original control panel, which I paid up for this game. Don't get me wrong. I have a decent amount of money in this game. I paid $400 for this control panel, but it came with the joysticks, all 3 joysticks and everything. These are the original handles and everything like that. So I didn't think it was too bad. But so I had gotten this control panel. It came up for sale, and I bought it. Then, like a week later, these cup holders came up for sale. I think I paid $300 for the set of these. But then I sent them out and had them brass plated. And that was, I think, $200, because I had those plated, and I'll show you down here in a minute. I had 4 bolts that hold the coin tray plated as well. So we're at 407, about $1,000 just in this part right here. The cabinet itself, I got that from a different state, and for the life of me, I can't remember where I purchased it from. I had put an ad on a bunch of different groups on Facebook, and somebody replied and said, yeah, I have an empty cabinet. And we agreed on a price of $400. So I paid $400 for the cabinet. It was beat up. I ended up putting a new front on it. Sides I repaired. There is video on it, so I might be a little bit confused on what I replaced and what I didn't. But I know I put a new front on it, and I'm pretty positive I just fixed the sides and fixed a couple other little things inside of it. So I had $400 into that. Fastenal shipped it for me. They charged me $150. So I'm at $1,550 right now, and that was the cabinet with all the controls and that stuff like that. Then I found a PCB. I believe I paid $500 for that, working PCB. I had a power supply, an MCR power supply laying around already, which is in this cabinet, but I am running a switcher in this cabinet right now with the MCR adapter, but the original power supply is in there. So we're at 2,000, 21, 2,200. And then I had the screen bezels from Phoenix Arcade. That and the monitor glass, those are both from Phoenix Arcade. And the control panel overlay. I think it was a 3-piece set. I forget what that cost. And then the artwork we printed ourselves. So we printed the front and the sides ourselves. It's the black and white. It's not the colored version. So I'm probably $2,500 into this. But I would rather be $2,500 to $3,000 in this than to go buy one for $2,500 to $3,500. And the simple reason being is this cabinet was going nowhere. I saved this cabinet from possibly being ruined or thrown away. You know what I mean? Plus, all these parts were clearly parts from cabinets that were destroyed. So I was able to take a bunch of parts and a cabinet that was falling apart and put a tapper back original. You know what I mean? So now there's another tapper that's an original tapper, original cabinet, original components and everything, even the coin door, you know, all this original stuff. The foot rail is new. I had to order the foot rail. But, you know, for the most part, most of that cabinet is all original. Now, these are the bolts. Now, at the time, I did not have any midway bolts for here, okay? So, believe it or not, these are called elevator bolts, and they're flat, okay? These had a carriage bolt, like a fat 1-inch round carriage bolt. And I didn't have any at the time. Now, of course, I have extra ones. But anyways, I sent these. I think I did a little grinding and stuff on these when I sent them out. Or maybe I didn't. I don't remember. But anyways, I sent them 5 of these elevator bolts. And I believe they're 5/16. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty positive they're 5/16 bolt. And he plated these he actually plated 5 of them, and then the 2 cup holders for me. And that was some pinball place, and I can't remember it offhand. But this is tarnishing. I need to polish it. But you can see how it's tarnishing. But I bought these 2 ends and the bar offline somewhere. And once again, I can't remember on the price of that. But I think that was around $100 for everything with that. So it plays really good, other than my scrolling monitor issue, which I will fix. You know, that monitor has never been touched. Maybe it needs a cap kit. It is a newer style monitor. It has a remote board. So it very well could need a cap kit. And maybe that's all that's wrong with it. You know, could that possibly be it? I don't know. But I haven't gotten into it. But if I'm going to pull it apart, I might as well just put some caps in it and stuff and just see if maybe I'll get lucky. Okay, so that's pretty much Tapper. So we have 2 original cabinets side by side. Kind of explained what I did to them, what I spent on them, stuff like that. Now, Space Ace, this is not original cabinet, okay? So the story on this goes, years ago, one of my buddies really likes Dragon's Lair. And he had an original one, and he ended up selling it. But before he sold it, we were able to take a template off the sides, all the measurements we needed. We ordered a control panel. He ordered a control panel from somebody that was making the control panels. Same thing with the marquee brackets up there. He had to order those brackets and control panel. So he had given me those parts to work off of. So I went ahead and made my own control panels off of that control panel as a template. So I bent up my own steel for this control panel. I ended up building 3 of these cabinets. All at the same time, I built 3 of them. One for me, my buddy Brad, my buddy Brian. Brian's the one that did the computer system in here. So basically what I did was I built 3 cabinets. He ended up, in turn, I gave him a cabinet for free. He gave me a computer for free. And he had it all, you know, he took his time, downloaded it all, did all that stuff. But it's playing Space Ace and Dragon's Lair. I am using a flat screen monitor. If I would have thought about it a little bit more, I probably would have put a CRT in here. But at the time I didn't. But anyways, we didn't put a coin door in his. He wanted full front art. So we didn't put a coin door in his. I think we made his front art. But anyways, the plexiglass for the marquee came from can't think of who it is offhand here. Escape Pod. Escape Pod had those bent. I bought 3 of them off of them. He gave me a good deal on them, so I bought 3 of those from him. As far as the artwork goes, I wanted Space Ace. I like the Space Ace artwork better. It has both games in it, so that's what I like. I just think it looks cooler. We printed our own marquee control panel overlay and side art, so that's all done by us. This is running a leaf switch joystick. It's running off of a computer. I can't really tell you much about the computer. I'm not a computer guy. I don't really know what went on with all that, but I know it took them a while to download everything and get everything to work properly. But if you see here, what I did here was a couple cool things to it. Here's my coin door down here, and what I did is you can see up here on the screen you can pick between Dragon's Lair or Space Ace. So let's say we want to do Space Ace. Now I'm going to forget which button I got to push because that's just how it is. But anyways, you push, I put a button behind these coin return buttons. So if you push it, I got a wrong one. Okay, so if you push this one twice, and it's going to go to play. So now it's loading into Space Ace. So there we go. Now we have Space Ace. Now I had him cut this, you know, there's cut scenes between one scene to the next because the laser disc had lag, you know what I mean? I had him shorten those on my game. I didn't really care for them as long as they were, so I had him shorten them up a little bit, so he did that for me. But anyways, this is an original scoreboard in mine, and he had built 2 scoreboards on his own, and I still have another scoreboard. But this piece of plexiglass I made myself. We printed this out. So we printed the artwork for this. and I cut the plexi out. I found these speaker grills. I actually made these speaker grills. Can't really see it here, but I ended up making those. I ordered a piece of perforated steel off of Amazon and cut them into the sizes that I needed. So now if you're playing Space Ace, I usually will always just set it to Space Ace because it's a Space Ace cabinet. So if somebody wants to play Dragon's Lair, you got to go to the left button here and you push that, and that's going to take you back out into the, press it twice. And that's going to take you back out into the main menu. So then you can go up to Dragon's Lair, hit that, hit it second time, and now it's going to load up into Dragon's Lair. And it works really well. I think it plays great. It's hard as hell, but I think it plays really well. Takes a minute to load up. But there we go. Now we have Dragon's Lair to play. And then my buddy does a bunch of 3D printing. He printed Derek for me. Turned out really cool. I just keep him up there. So this, I really don't know all the pricing on this because it's kind of like trading this, trading that, back and forth type stuff. So I don't really know what I have into it. I know it's not a whole ton, a lot, because this is regular MDF that was painted with automotive paint. That was before I was messing around with this melamine now that has a laminate coating on it. So, like I said, I really can't give you an exact price on that. If I were to guess, I would say under $1,000 I have into it. So it works out. I mean, it'd be cool to have an original one, but I'm happy with it because it's such a hard game anyways. I don't play it a lot. You know, it's just something that doesn't get played a ton. Okay, so that's those 3 games. Now let's go over to Wizard of War here, and I'll tell you about this game. This is running all original hardware. Power supply, everything. Everything's original in this cabinet. Now, the funny thing was, about 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I had bought a elevator action, but it wasn't in the right cabinet. It was in this cabinet, and I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what cabinet this was. Like I said, this is a long time ago. Because I got it, and I'm like, why is there 3 speakers? It just doesn't seem right, you know? And somebody had made a wooden control panel, didn't have a coin door in it. Somebody had put a block of wood in there to cover the coin door, and it was all painted black, gloss, like latex paint. So I left it an elevator action for a while, and then one day I found an elevator action cabinet, a real Tato cabinet. So I bought the cabinet, and I took everything out of here and put it in the cabinet. Well, then this cabinet sat in the back building. Okay, actually this is not that cabinet. The elevator action cabinet sat in the back building. Then years went by, it was sitting back there, years went by, and I acquired this cabinet, which at the time I knew what it was. I knew it was a Wizard of War cabinet, and it had a Superman conversion to it. So it had Superman in it. It wasn't working because the monitor was dead. So, well, let me back up here. So the first Wizard of War cabinet I bought, I paid $100 for it, or $150 for it, for a working, hold on one second, the dog's gonna keep barking. Okay, so the first Wizard of War cabinet that had the elevator action in it, I paid $100 or $150 for it. I think it was listed for $100 and it was working, and then I was the first one to respond. It was literally like 20 minutes from my house, and he had gotten like tons of people messaging him, and I ended up giving him $150 for it. But this is like 8 years ago, and I got a really good deal on it. And it worked for as long as I can remember. The monitor that was in that is this monitor. This is the original monitor from Wizard of War. It was still in the cabinet when it was elevator action, so I left it with this cabinet. Now, about 4 years ago, I would say. I bought this cabinet that was converted to a Superman. Didn't work because the monitor was out. It had two Superman boards. I paid $150 for it because it wasn't working. So I took it, brought it home, took the Superman boards out of it, tested the Superman boards, ended up selling both Superman boards on eBay for 300 bucks. So basically that $300 wiped out the cost of this cabinet and the elevator action cabinet with all the original elevator action hardware, except for the power supply. Screw those Tato power supplies. As far as I know, I think Charlie from our Overtime Arcade's the only one that actually got one of those things working. But anyways, it has a switching power supply in it. But so basically I had two Wizard of War cabinets now for free, and all the elevator action equipment for free, and a monitor. So I was doing really good. Then there was a guy that had rebuilt the original board set for this, and I ended up buying it from him for $550 shipped to the house. So I put that in there, I scrounged up a coin door, and I can't say I paid for it because I think it just came out of another game. But anyways, I didn't have I had a control panel, I had a couple of them, but they were really crappy. And I can't remember. I honestly, I don't remember if I welded this up and fixed it or not. I still have another one of these control panels somewhere, I believe. I don't remember on the control panel, I can't say one way or another. But anyways, the screen bezel, oops. The screen bezel and the marquee came from Escape Pod, and they reverse printed on clear vinyl and stuck it to the back side of the plexiglass, and it turned out really good. It looks really, really good. He did that and the screen bezel for me. The control panel overlay and the side art came from this old game. So these two came from this old game. These two came from Escape Pod. And I probably have $400 in the artwork maybe for all that stuff. We couldn't print any of it. We didn't have the files, and the images we can come up with were so messed up it wouldn't be worth our time to try to clean up the images. It'd just be quicker to buy it from somebody than to do that. So I already had a marquee light, I already had the speakers, I already had the speaker grills, I already had the screen bezel, pretty much had everything but the circuit board, power supply. I had a power supply. No, I bought the power supply for $40 not working, and I rebuilt it. And as far as the wiring harness goes, I had sent the wiring harness out to Golden Age Arcade. He went through the wiring harness. It had been cut in a couple spots. I ended up buying this wiring harness for $100, and it was missing some pieces. He went and cleaned the harness and fixed all the spots that were missing, and I think he charged me $100 to do that. And he was able to duplicate it and hopefully be able to offer these harnesses to somebody that might need one. So all in all, I probably have $1,000 invested into this. I don't know what these go for. I think they go for in the range of $1,000 to $1,500. But once again, I was able to save another cabinet that would never have made it back to a Wizard of War. I just don't think it ever would have. I think it would have stayed a Superman or converted into something else or burned, who knows. So then I was left with one more Wizard of War cabinet. And I had no use for it. I wasn't going to build another Wizard of War. But I needed a scramble cabinet. And this guy had in New York, he had by the way, this cabinet came from, in Cleveland, about an hour from me. The other cabinet came from Madison, which is 20 minutes from me. And then, so what I did with the other cabinet, I traded it for a Cobra cabinet, which I'm turning into a scramble. So I traded that cabinet for cabinet. So I drove to New York. I gave him my empty Wizard of War cabinet, and he gave me the Cobra cabinet, which, like I said, I'm gonna turn into a scramble. And also while I was there, I was picking up a Sinistar cabinet for Arcade Jason. So I went there with one cabinet, brought two home. So basically, that's the story on Wizard of War. Awesome game. My buddy set the high score on it on New Year's, and I haven't really had a chance to play it, so he's got the high score in there right now. This does have a high score saver in it. Tapper has a high score saver in it and a free play, I think it is. So both of those have high score savers in them. I try to use them as much as possible. So does Mr. Do. Mr. Do has a high score saver in that one as well, and that has free play as well. So that's where we're at with these 4 games and what I've done to them. You know what? We're not done with Wizard of War. I missed a couple things on Wizard of War here. Okay, so I got the cabinet. This is a off-white vertical grade laminate, which is only like a 1/16 of an inch thick. I put it over top of the plywood after I sanded the cabinet down and everything. There's a video on this. I did video this one. So there are videos on this restoration. And so once I got done with putting the laminate on there, it was just pure white, off-white. And I'm like, originally the cabinet was speckled. You know, it had the speckled paint on it. And I wanted it to look like that. So I thought to myself, I better put the artwork on first, because if I don't put this artwork on first and I go to speckle this, it could possibly, you know, maybe leave bubbles under the vinyl. But you see these speckles here? So what I did was I put the artwork on, then I took masking tape and paper and I covered the artwork. Actually, I left the masking, the pre-masking that came on the artwork, and I taped the edges off. And then I took a can of black spray paint and I took the tip off of the spray paint can and I drilled it out with an 1/8 inch drill bit. Then I sat back about to here, about 3 to 4 feet away from the cabinet, and I would just mist it. And these big dots and everything were coming out and landing on the cabinet. And that's how I came up with that look. And I think it turned out really good. This is honestly probably one of the coolest features to a cabinet. It's like they did to the old pinballs. I heard people using paintbrushes and flicking it on too, but I had pretty good success, I think, with the spray paint, the way I did it. And the thing is I've seen quite a few of these restored and nobody does that. They just leave it off white and they paint it. But I did the laminate and then I used the spray paint. So it worked out really, really well. I'm very happy with that, the way this all turned out. So, all right, that's the end of Wizard of War. And the last game of the day is this. I love this game. This is the retro one. Don't mind the duck. That was an order by mistake. But anyways, yeah, like I said, we still have Christmas stuff. So this is my 3rd JVL iTouch. So this is not the Mega Touch. This is the JVL version. Okay. Years ago, I had one. I paid $175 for it. It was the older version that had a CRT monitor in it, so it was big in the back. And we played it a lot, but then it started having issues. Couldn't get it to work. It worked sometimes, wouldn't work others. I ended up just giving it to my neighbor. And I didn't have one for a while, and then I found a flat screen version. Not this one, but a different flat screen version, and it worked good. But the edges and everything were all busted up and broke, and somebody took the bill acceptor out, and they shoved glue in the coin slot, filled it with glue. I don't know, weird stuff. But anyways, then one day on Marketplace, this popped up, and I paid for this. I paid good money for this. I'm not going to say that I didn't, but we play it a lot, and I really like all the games on here. It has 150 some games on here, and I got a bulb out right there I need to fix. But anyways, the guy wanted $1,000 for this. Okay, well, I did some wheeling and dealing. I said, hey, will you take my old one in as partial trade? And he's like, him and Han. He's like, yeah, that's fine. I'll give you $200 off, which was fine because that's what I paid for it. I paid $200 for it. He took $200 off. So I did pay $800 for this. I'm not going to, you know, it was definitely on the higher side, but I just like the look of this retro look with the lights going and all that. Really, I didn't do anything to this other than buy it and bring it home and clean it and set it on the counter. But it's just something that we really like playing. But that's pretty much it on these first 5 games, guys. You'll have to let me know if this is something that you would like to see these videos every Sunday. I plan on doing it every Sunday, unless I don't get a big response from it. But we'll do the next 5 games next Sunday, and then we'll just keep doing that until we run out of games down here. But by that time, I'm gonna have more games down here. So we'll be able to keep going for a while. I mean, realistically, there's gonna be 70 games down here. So 5 a week, 10 weeks is 50. So we got 12 weeks is 60, 14 weeks of videos. I mean, that's what, 4, 8, 12, 16, almost 4 months of videos every Sunday just on explaining this stuff. And like I said, I'm gonna start doing some more videos of fixing some of these broken games that are not completely broken. It's minor stuff, but it needs to be addressed now before something else goes wrong. I just want to get them all up and running. So let's take a look at what we're gonna talk about next Sunday, the next 5 games. I got my wooden barrel dried out and the ring fell off. So I gotta slide the ring back up there and put some screws in it to hold it or glue it or something. This came from a local winery by me, that barrel, and it stunk when we got it. So we're gonna work our way down this aisle next. So our next Sunday is gonna be Space Invaders, Galaga, Zaxxon, this Atari cabinet, and Fisherman's Bait. This is next Sunday. We're gonna talk about where these came from, what I did to them, and what I've had to do to them after they've been restored and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, this came from Southern Ohio, the iTouch. This is when COVID hit. And the guy was laid off of work, so he had a bunch of these that he had bought that were broken, and he was just sitting in his garage fixing them and then selling them to make money. So that's where that came from. That was during COVID. So, all right, guys, I hope you guys like this video. Please let me know. Please, if you haven't subscribed, liked, shared, hit the thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Hopefully you guys will comment and say, cool, this is a good idea. I'd like to see where all these came from. There's a lot of stories here that these are the better stories out here on a lot of these cabinets than the ones in there. And we'll get into that. Galaga is kind of a funny one with me and my son. But yeah, we'll get into some of those. So, all right, guys, you guys have a good Sunday, and all the mothers have a good Mother's Day, and I will see you guys later.